March 24th, 3:30 a.m. Amityville, right? Mommy, they're back. Anyway, March 24th, 2024, the saga continues. This is an aside. Several years ago, after I retired and Delphi happened, Delphi is one of the reasons I began to research Debbie and I's ride with Bundy, because that was about it, right? Libby and Abby will go walking and end up deceased on the side of a ridge. Okay. This is similar to the way we were. We'd go on adventures. But anyway, I'm not going to go into all that. I went to Book Mine, a used bookstore that's been around since the 70s. It's in an old, I can't remember what it was called, Consumer Warehouse. And he turned it into a book mine. It's called Chamberlain Book Mine. I went there to get Ann Rule's. She died in 2015. But I went to get her last edition of The Stranger Beside Me, because there's several chapters in the back where she goes over encounters and people that are still contacting her right up to 2015, I guess. So I bought this last edition, and I was in the checkout line, a used book, and a little girl who looked like Tina Fey, kind of. She says she was apparently interning or working there part-time. She says, my mom met him when she was a child. I said, really? She goes, yes, my grandparents owned the Gator Iñn at on Phillips on the south side of the river. And I said, really? And, there were people in line, and I didn't think too much of it at the time, so I left. Well, there's a newspaper article called Jack Psycho. And I found out that the owners of the Gator Lodge were Sam and Susan Tomisco, Salvador Tomisco, who later changed his name to Sam King, S-A-M King, K-I-N-G. He changed his name. And he owned and built the Gator Iñn. And it had a gator on the exterior wall and a nightclub. And apparently the politicians liked it just like they liked the Red Heart in downtown Jacksonville, the Red Heart, whatever it is. That's where Mrs. Debbie's mother played the organ at the Red Heart. Anyway, so I'm thinking, okay, it said Linda was born in 61, or Lisa, who became quite prominent because she ran for city council. Well, their trajectory was they lived in the inn for several years as children, and then in 72, Sam King had a massive heart attack and died. After that point, they went to San Jose Manor, way down San Jose, State Road 13 on the south side of the river, and bought a home, I guess. Susan King sold the home completely to a Charles Knowles, which I had to go downtown to the courthouse in 1974. The entire lock, stock, and barrel was sold. So for Ted Bundy to be in the inn, she says, my mom met him as a child. And you're thinking, okay, there's registrations and all of this. Susan King, as far as I know, is still living, 80s or 90s. Lisa and Linda are living. I tried to contact them. They won't respond. It's like a brick wall. So later on, I put my saga, my story on Nextdoor. And a girl named Chris, Krys, Carpenter, who lives way over here on the west side, born and bred, Cedar Hills area. She writes, I've been researching for years to show that he was at the Gator Iñn. I'm thinking, why would why? Her mother, who passed within the last couple years in her 70s, had told her that Bundy had connections to the Gator Iñn and that he had a friend or lover he would meet at the Gator Iñn. Well, the Gator Iñn was a political hotbed. Both parties, the people that wanted consolidation and didn't want consolidation, they had a steakhouse there. Jean Hogue, Hogue, was an organist and a maitre d' at the Red Heart? I can't think of it now. It was downtown. It had a red heart on it. And it also was a place where politicians would go. And she looked just like Elizabeth Taylor. She would doll herself up. If you go Google Elizabeth Taylor in her 50s with a little white streak in her hair, exactly. She looked exactly like that. She'd have the girls in crinoline dresses, polka dot, leopard skin. That was her thing. She was very, but she also was manic depressant and lived in Cedar Hills. So Chris, Krys, completely and arbitrarily, I guess, randomly wrote on Nextdoor, yes, my mom, which he didn't say her mom, but obviously I think it was her mom. Someone told her that Bundy had ties to the Gator Inn. So the King's locations are San Jose Boulevard, way down on the opposite side of town, over the river. And listen, in the 60s, going over the river was a thing because they didn't have as many bridges. But anyway, I just wanted to put this is saga number 2, the Gator Inn. Why would he be there? They'll say, well, maybe he was there in 68 and drove. They don't say how he went to the Miami convention and drove back, and that would place her as being 7 or 8 years old. Well, 7 really. But she said my mom met him when she was a child. It's odd. He has connections to Jacksonville going way back. And this was a spontaneous outburst. When I was checking out with the book, she says, oh, my mom met him when she was a child. She grew up in the Gator Lodge. My grandparents owned the Gator Lodge. All right. I didn't ask for it. It's a spontaneous outburst, a spontaneous declaration. And then when I put it on Nextdoor, I thought I was going to hear more about the 36 hours he was in Jacksonville in 78. Instead, a Chris Carpenter says, I've been searching for years to show he was in it. My mom, well, she didn't say her mom, someone told me that he had connections to the Gator Inn. Well, this is somebody way off on the other side. So, and then I went downtown and found out it was completely sold in 74. Sam died in 72. So all of this had to predate that. And they moved to San Jose Manor. So it was before 72 or around, you tell me. Bundy had connections to Jacksonville. I'm satisfied with it. Thank you.